Thank you for joining us on the Right of Way Report, a podcast by Pikeoff OTA. You can join us here every Monday morning at 10 a.m., where we will bring you updates on legislation, litigation, and landowner information.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. How are you, Kelly?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It was a busy couple of weeks. It's been a while since we've gone live, so I'm happy to be back at it. And there's about 1,000 things to tell everybody, so we'll maybe try to tell an eighth of what happened in the last 2 weeks, and hopefully get some more people engaged in the process along the way.
Yeah, it was a busy week for sure. So many things. If you guys are listening, so sorry we're getting a little bit of a late start. We're still trying to catch up on all the stuff that happened last week, and but we're rolling now. Probably be a little bit of a longer show today. Amy's going to go through some of the bills, the legislation that happened last week, and apparently there was a lot. And then we're going to bring in Tassie here in a little while, and we're all going to talk about what happened at City Council last Tuesday. So anyway, big show today. So let's jump in. Let's go. Tell us what's up.
So I think what I wanted to do is just talk to everybody a little bit about the legislative process and what it takes really to get bills from conception through to the end. And I'm going to be positive about it, but I'm going to be also realistic and tell you why it really matters that you continue to stay engaged with the process, because a squeaky wheel gets the grease. And if the legislators know or don't know that you really care about something, they're going to listen to the lobbyists in their office, and they're going to listen to the agencies, and they're going to listen to their staff that I swear to you, I feel like are bought off by the agencies, or at least unfortunately influenced by the agencies. And I'm going to give several examples, and we brought in some sound just so you can see how insane it is that we make laws the way we make laws, and why it's super important to have a relationship with a representative or senator, so you can explain what the language actually means, so they can make some decisions on the fly when they're on the floor. Because as you're going to hear in the sound, they don't have a lot of time to react when someone's trying to take over their bill by completely bringing up a topic that has nothing to do with what they're trying to do. You have literally like 5 seconds to change course and go the other way. And so I thought it was interesting to bring that up, because when I listened to this clip that we'll listen to in a little bit, I was kind of flabbergasted, and we'll talk about why when we get there. But we have 3 bills that made it through to go to the other house. So we have a Senate bill that made it through, it passed, and now it's going to the House to be heard. And we have 2 House bills that made it from the House and are going to the Senate. And they all passed almost unanimously. We had some nays, and the reason why we had some nays that we'll talk about is because the author limited the scope to a specific, very unique area of the state, instead of letting it be a broad eminent domain reform, for example. And I think, the true private property enthusiasts were not happy with limiting it to just 1 or 2 agencies. But overall, I think that if we can get a floor hearing in the House and in the Senate, we will pass these bills. Now, I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves, but then it has to go to the governor's desk. And like he did with the last 2 bills we put together, he vetoed them. And then we had to come back to the legislature and get a super majority to override his veto. So we're not even halfway there, but it's impressive. We started with 17 bills and we're down to 3. It's still impressive that our little non-paid citizen advocacy group can get 3 bills across the finish line. 1 that we started this year, which was brand new and everybody really liked it, and 2 that we've been working on for multiple years. And we've had to significantly horse trade some content. So let's get started. We are going to start in the House. with House Bill 34. I want to bring this over here, 3453. I'm going to share my screen so you can see what this is. And we'll talk about this one. This is, we want to have all condemning agencies prove necessity of the take. Right now, it's up to the homeowner to sue the agency to prove that the necessity isn't there for public use. So right now, we are said that's not fair. We need to change the burden of proof to the condemning agencies. So let's see, screen 3. Okay, I'll do that one. And I'll move this one over. Here we go. You can see that. So here's what we're going to do. What can you guys see now? Can you see that? I can still see that.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
I might pull us off so that it can take up the whole screen and make it even bigger. How about that?
Good. Okay. So this is House Bill 3453. Representative Stairs and Wilk were our House authors. And this, we changed this. This is on the 6th iteration. This ensures that the burden of proof always remains on the condemning authority. It's a brand new law. We're not changing, we're not amending a law. We're writing a brand new law. And we're making clear that a boilerplate resolution of necessity is not conclusive. So what does that mean? It means an agency, whether that be ODOT or OTA, right now, writes up a resolution of necessity and says, we need to take lots 1, 2, and 3. Please make it so. And the board will sign it. And then that gives them their authority right now in state law that they can go exact eminent domain on the citizens of Oklahoma. So this law makes it clear that that's not okay. You can't just do that. You have to prove that you need the land for public use. And so that means that a court is involved and the burden of proof is always on that authority, that they have to go and they have to do it parcel by parcel, not just one piece on a property, a linear transportation property that could, like is what happening now, take hundreds of homes. And it allows the attorney fee recovery for prevailing landowners so that if you do, when you do sue them and to make them prove that they need to take your land for public use, if you win, then you get all of your fees back. So that makes it so that the agencies can't do a sloppy take. So they can't start taking your land until they finish environmental law, until their environmental impacts. They can't come take your land until they finish their traffic studies, and they can't come take your property until they've done a revenue study. So they have to have everything done and all the permits checked off before they come and take your land. And if they don't, then the courts can say, well, you know, you haven't proved that you need it. You can't have it. And so that, I think it's not a perfect law. It was really, 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 really strong when we first started. And it's gotten diluted as we've gone through the process, but I still think it's a step forward. And what I want to point you out to, I'm going to show you some amendments, what happens in the House. So this is the wrong bill, but I'm going to get to there. Let's see. This is 3453. So this was the 6th iteration, and we're saying the condemning agency has to prove that they need it. We're saying that you can't just use a resolution of necessity to prove it. And if the citizens prevail, then they get their fees. And this was for all agencies that have condemning power. But what the legislator did that was running this was he got a lot of pushback from the oil and gas industry and from the electric co-ops. Okay? So what he did was put an amendment that said, and so this is one way they do an amendment. You can read the top. It says HB 3453 FA1. Untimely filed means that it was filed within 24 hours of when they were going to be listening to it. And they deleted the entire content of the measure and inserted a whole different thing. And this makes it really hard for people to follow what's going on. I don't like when they do this, because then you have to really go back through and read it line for line. So what they did was they said, in any judicial condemnation proceeding other than those authorized by Section 7 of this title. So now you have to go back to Section 7 of Title 27 and figure out what that is. And what that is all electrical utilities and railroads. I don't know that we're building any railroads lately, but we sure are. Nextera is killing us on the electrical stuff. So he took out that. And then there was another amendment to the amendment. So this was an FA1A1, so an amendment to the First Amendment. And he carved out oil and gas by saying, or any proceeding authorized under Title 52. So all this new law pertains to now is everyone in the state that has condemning authority, except for the electrical utilities and the oil and gas companies. So we had some people who are true private property protectors and believe that private property should not be taken by anybody. We had a few people vote no on this because it was carved out. I fundamentally also think that it should be every condemning agency. However, after 4 years of being in the legislature, I understand that concessions have to be made. And I think that this particular court proving necessity is super important for Oklahoma. Doesn't mean I'm happy about the amendments, but I do understand that that's the only way it was going to get a hearing. And so that's what happened. But this is why people have paid lobbyists to follow this stuff. Like, one of these amendments happened when I was in an 8-hour National Foundation review panel, and people were texting me like, are you okay with this amendment? And I didn't even answer until after I had lunch break. And so by that time it was voted on. And so if you don't have people really following it quickly, it can get really tricky. But we're happy that this one is going over to the Senate. We hope that there's no more concessions that we have to be made. And if there is and we don't like it, you do what's called kill the bill. So if you ever hear us, we've been pushing a bill, and we say kill it, that means that there's something in it that we don't like and we don't think it's good for the Oklahoma citizens. So we'll have the legislature that runs the bill for us just pull it. And that happened to us several times last year when the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority put in language that we were just not comfortable with, and we couldn't get a hearing without leaving it in, and we weren't willing to take that risk. And so every time you open up a title, I didn't understand what this meant when I first started, but every time you open up a section of the statutes, it allows anybody to change anything if they can get it with the right legislature to get it through. And I'll talk about that when I talk about SB 80, because I don't think a lot of you are going to be super duper happy with one of the amendments that was made on SB 80. But if anyone has any questions on this House Bill 3453, let us know. And we are going to be hitting the Senate hard to hear this bill in the coming weeks. Okay, so the next one that we'll talk about is still a House bill, and that is House Bill 1939. Okay, this is super interesting, and I know some of you might not like all the detail, but this one's super interesting because this bill, we pulled this one last session. We pulled it and we let it sit because the OTA had put in language to get it through committee, and there was a poison pill in there that we couldn't. There's no way we could let the Oklahoma citizens take that from the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. So we just asked Danny Sterling, a representative, to end it. And so we asked him to re-up it this year, and he did. And this is where we have some sound for you, but I want to go through it first so you understand what it does. It sunsets the location authorizations after 5 years. So this is good. It requires rather than suggests Supreme Court bond validation which is good because right now they could or could not go to the Supreme Court. Right now they can just go to the Council for Bond Oversight. And now we're requiring them to go to the Supreme Court bond validation. And then it says some little things that are fine, but don't really mean anything because there's no teeth in it to slap them if they don't do it. So they say the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority must comply with the Open Meeting Act and several notice and public engagement requirements. They have to submit a report to the governor. They have to hold public meetings to provide descriptions of the routes. They have to provide electronic notices as well as newspaper notice in 2 consecutive weeks of the public meeting. And then this one that you're going to hear in the sound is what gave people heartburn. This says they have to provide notice to all known property owners within 1 mile on each side of the new route by methods including first-class mail and targeted advertisements, which shall include certified mail, meaning that you don't have to find out that your house is going to be condemned on a Facebook post or through a text, that you have to be contacted by the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. They have to try their hardest to get in touch with you to tell you, just like the Oklahoma Department of Transportation is required to do by federal law. And everyone's gotten mailers on the widening of Route 9 or the widening of I-35, but we never got anything about the turnpike. And why is that? So we thought that it was really important to put it in there. But as you'll see, there was some serious consternation about that. So I want to show you the amendments to this one so you understand what I'm talking about and why our government doesn't really act like what we were taught in school. And so again, there was 3 amendments to this bill that we wanted to do. The first amendment, I don't even know how they order these because these were not the order that we sent them in, but the amendment number 1 was it struck out is authorized in its discretion to and inserts it into to be shall, which means that they shall go to the Supreme Court. So that was our amendment. And we needed that. We wanted that to make that requirement for the OTA to put some more guardrails up for the citizens. Okay, so that was, remember this number, that was Amendment 1. Okay, now Amendment 2 is restoring the stricken language. Okay, but it doesn't even give like any details about what that is. So what that means is that down in, let's see, it's down in 1705 F. Okay, right here. Now in 1705 F, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority came in and said, you need to strike out this language because we don't want it. And if anyone super follows the Supreme Court ruling, what they wanted to strike out was what our lawsuit was about. They want to strike out, provided that any bonds issued for the construction of the proposed turnpikes, which was the east-west connector and the outer loop, shall be issued in one issue for all 4 of the proposed turnpikes and shall be financed, constructed, and operated under one bond indenture. That's what we went to the Supreme Court with and said, you can't build it. And 3 of the justices agreed with us because of this language. So they wanted to strike that out and get rid of it because they plan on continuing their outer loop and they don't want any more issues. So we thought, you know what? No, this is why we pulled it last year. We can't have this go through. You need to pull it. So we had an amendment to remove that strikeout. Okay, still not done with the amendments. This is one that you're going to be really mad about. This bill would not get a hearing unless we deleted the sentence, the authority shall collaborate with elected officials of cities and counties where the new route will be located. Okay, we think that that's important. The Pike Off OTA and all our community thinks that's important. We think that the authority shall collaborate with elected officials of cities and counties. That just makes sense. That's what we teach our students. That's how transportation projects should occur. It should not be authoritatively rained down from on high saying it will be here. Figure it out, city, or figure it out, county. We don't care what your long-term transportation plan is. We're just going to build it here. And so the OTA got to whoever and said, the House floor leader, and said, if you don't take this out, we won't hear it. And so I said, fine, I want the other 2 amendments in. We'll take this one out. And so I thought it would happen. So remember, Amendment 1, Amendment 2, we asked for. Amendment 3, the OTA asked for. Okay, now I got some sound for you. So let's see.
I'd like to take up
we're gonna go back here.
amendment number 3. Clerk will read.
Uh-oh. Can we hear that sound?
I can't hear it at the moment.
Representative Sterling.
That's too
recognized to
bad.
explain the amendment.
Oh, here we go. Maybe?
Yeah. Oh. Not now. Let me mute mine and see if I don't know if that's going to help.
I'm gonna remove it and then put it back.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm gonna add this to the stage. I really hope this works because it worked before. What's happening?
We need to rewind it.
It's okay. I just want to hear the sound. I'm going to share my screen and see if we can play it on there because I think it's really important for them to hear. And if not, then I'll write about it in my Substack and you have to listen to it because it's ridiculous. Let's see if you can hear
Ruling
mine.
of the House and standards of the Senate, an act relating to the
Yeah, you can hear that, right? Okay, so let me get rid of this. And I'm going to share again. So listen to this. Yeah, which one is this one? Okay, let me know if you can hear this.
Turnpike Authority.
Representative Sterling, recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe there's an amendment.
Which one?
I'd like to take up amendment number 3.
Clerk will read.
Mr. Speaker, I move to amend House Bill 1939, page 9, section 1, lines 10 through 11. Amendment submitted by Sterling.
Representative Sterling, recognized to explain the amendment.
Yes, this is just some tweaking that we need to do to the bill.
Representative Sterling requesting it because Representative Grego. You have a question on tweaking to the bill? He does. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Certified mail. Are you putting that back in that they must use certified mail to notify the people? Yes, we plan to leave that in at this point in time simply because I think anytime you're dealing with people's property that's going to be affected by being taken over by the Turnpike, we need to exhaust all options in making sure everyone affected should be contacted.
Okay, I'm going to stop this right here. So we just heard Amendment 3. You didn't say what the amendment was. It just said strike out this thing on line 1, line whatever. There's literally half the House members are sitting in their seats. Half of them are texting. Half of them are talking. No one's paying attention. They didn't read out the amendment. And then they say, we're just tweaking the bill. But remember what Amendment 3 was? It was to remove the municipality cooperation. Okay, so they go with the OTA sponsored amendment first. And then Representative Grego starts talking about something completely that has nothing to do with the amendment, certified mail. Okay, keep listening.
As a 23-year postal employee, I don't trust certified mail. Do you trust certified mail? I've never had a reason not to.
One more follow-up.
Can I give you an example, sir? Last Thursday, I mailed all my tax information to Tulsa from Wilburton, priority certified mail. 1 week later, it hadn't showed up. There's no record of it. It said it went to a wrong facility. That's all I know. So would you believe my taxes are pretty important?
Representative
I
Grego,
just drove them.
this line of questioning is not on the amendment.
Okay.
We'll come back to you. Representative Dempsey, you have a question on the amendment. You're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. So you trust the Postal Service?
Still not on the amendment. Representative Menz, she waves. Representative Sterling requesting his consent the amendment be adopted without objection. That'll be the order. Back on the bill as amended. Representative Sterling.
Okay, so I'm hoping everyone can hear it. But what they said was Amendment 3 is adopted. So OTA gets what they want. And the people that were talking about what we said in the bill, that we need the OTA to contact people through all means possible. And so, okay, so now we keep going. We still have 2 more amendments to go.
You request further explanation of the bill as amended.
I believe there's another amendment.
There's a couple. Which one?
Okay. I think I would need to take up amendment number 3.
That's the one we just adopted.
Okay, then I've got this out of order. I need to take up amendment number 1, I believe.
Clerk will read.
Mr. Speaker, I move to amend House Bill 1939, page 17, section 2, lines 21 through 22. Amendment submitted by Sterling.
Representative Sterling, you're recognized to explain the First Amendment.
Yes, this amendment basically was language that was originally in the bill, and we're just reinstating it. It was oversight.
Member yields. Representative Sterling requesting his consent the amendment be adopted without objection. That'll be the order. Back on the bill as amended. You request further explanation of your duly amended bill.
Not at this time.
Okay, so it looks like you guys can't hear this, the sound, but what they just did was they amended, they read the amendment 1, and then they didn't say what it was, and then they adopted it. But then they said, "Or do you have any more amendments to do?" And then we didn't get the poison pill unstruck. So we still have the poison pill online in the bill, and we need to get that taken care of. It's too bad. I'm sorry we couldn't get this sound to cut. We're gonna have to figure out StreamYard a little bit better because it's ridiculous. Let me see if I can add this to the stage and see if it'll go again.
Hey, Amy, for some reason they're not able to hear you either.
They can't hear me?
Yeah. Let's see if they can hear me. Oh, but then Michael Leary says it's working on the phone and Facebook. So I'm not really sure what's going on here, but if you guys can't hear, please go ahead and post a comment in the comment section of Facebook or YouTube or wherever it is that you're listening. And if you can hear, send us a comment there and let us know that you can. I'm not sure why it's working for some and not others. So, but I did want to point out about this this video that you just shared. I thought it was interesting that they passed the amendment with sorry, it was like muting and unmuting. They passed the amendment.
Oh, could you hear it?
Yes, I could hear it.
Well, that's the problem then. Listen, I can't hear it. Watch. Can you hear this now? Can you hear it now?
No.
I don't know what's going on.
I'm not sure why it's not playing either. But anyhow, so they passed that amendment without the questions. Like, so Grego was going to ask a question, and I'm not really sure why his question was maybe not asked appropriately or something within the rules for whatever reason. I just thought it was interesting that they passed the amendment before the guy was able to ask the question. Now, Grego, his question or his comment, I guess maybe because it was a comment, not a question. But, then he asked it again. He says, well, do you really trust the Postal Service to get it there? And then he and Dempsey go on, maybe you're going to play that part in a minute, but he and Dempsey go on to say that they have personal experiences with the post office and they can't ever, rely on the post office to send certified mail, which, okay, that's clearly better than what we have going on right now, which is zero notification at all. But that is the best these guys could come up with as far as criticism of this amendment trying to get it through. Like, why? Who would have any issues? And then in the end, of course, Representative Sterling comes on and he says, I mean, because they kept asking him, do you trust the Postal Service? And he's like, I do. Okay. And then he eventually says, look, this was an amendment from the OTA. This is what they wanted. So what's the problem here? Yeah. So this whole time, Dempsey and Grego think that they are arguing because they think that we probably amended this bill, but really it was an OTA amendment. And I don't know. The whole thing was just kind of comical. Like, that's the best Grego could come up with. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'll put it up on Substack when this goes out because it's just interesting to me how fast everything goes. But I want to try one more time to see if you can hear this because the next part is kind of ridiculous. So hold on.
Member does yield. Representative Grego, you're now recognized for questions on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I want to go back to my personal experience with certified mail. Priority mail certified from Wilburton, Tulsa has not made it yet. So do you feel that's a good indicator that would require all these notices to be mailed that way? They may or may not ever get there?
Thanks for the question. I appreciate your problem, your concern and so forth. But again, I just want to go back to what I originally stated. We need to exhaust all options, even though they're not perfect, in notifying people that are affected by the Turnpike Authority in taking of their property.
All right, members, queue's growing very lengthy on this title off bill. We're going to one question, one follow-up, and I'm closing the queue. Representative LePack, you're recognized for one question, one follow-up on this title off bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, there's a piece in there about collaborating with local officials, but it seemed like one of the amendments took it out, one put it back in. With both of those amendments accepted, what's in and out of the bill on that particular piece?
Thank you for the question. It's my understanding, unless there's some mix-up on the amendment, that collaboration piece is supposed to be deleted.
Representative Dempsey, thank you for waiting. You're recognized for one question, one follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Author, can the Postal Service track certified mail?
Could you repeat that question again?
You're recognized to repeat your question, sir.
Can the Postal Service track certified mail if we're going to use certified mail?
I'm not an expert of the Postal Service, but I would think they should be able to, yes.
For follow-up.
So they can't, by all means, trust me. But that's using, we got to find what other reliable sources do we have besides certified mail?
Are you referring to the Postal Service? Is that what other options through the Postal Service or other methods?
Representative Dempsey, you're recognized to clarify the question, preferably in English.
The Choctaw in me, brother, I promise you. So, but anyhow, the Postal Service cannot track certified mail. So they have to send it, make sure they get a signature through that, because my mom, 30-something year postmaster, and I have sent certified mail to my nephews and nieces in Arizona, and it gets lost in the postal office in Oklahoma City every time.
Would you agree? Representative Menz, you're recognized. One question, one follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, thanks for taking questions. I wanted to ask if you think it would be preferable to know that an entity that is wanting to take your home and property tried to get a hold of you in a respectful way, or would you rather find out that you're losing your property on Facebook or from a text message?
The former.
For follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And when we're talking about eminent domain in any form, but specifically this one, it's important to approach that conversation with the property owner and the landowner with respect, not just as their government, not just as their fellow citizen, but as a person.
Yes, I agree.
Representative Crosswhite-Hater, recognize for one question, one follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, so on your amendment for, or excuse me, just the bill for notification for landowners, can you tell me how far out the notification, the land area notification goes to? How many people are we talking?
Okay, so now this is the third representative to ask about the something that we didn't even amend that was in the original bill, and they're I wouldn't say carrying the water for the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, but they have no idea that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority actually put this in the bill. This is their language. She's asking how many homes would that be? How many people would that be? There's only just a little bit sound left, so I'm going to keep playing it.
1 mile.
So he says 1 mile.
Recognize for your follow-up.
Thank you. And so with that example, using the Kilpatrick, if we expanded that out and you go 1 mile on either side, so that's actually 2 miles, that could be hundreds and hundreds or thousands of people. Do you have an estimate of how much this is going to cost and how long that will take to be able to give notification to all those people?
No, I don't, but just to that point, this language actually, thank you for that question, because this language was actually very much collaborated with OTA in the past year, actually past couple of years, and that was some language that they agreed upon and actually suggested in this bill. So the 1 mile, both sides is what was agreed upon in the language, the final version from their input as well.
Representative Sterling now moves House Bill 1939 be advanced to the order. Without objection, that'll be the order. Third reading of the bill.
House Bill 1939 by Sterling of the House and Standridge of the Senate, an act relating to the Turnpike Authority.
Representative Sterling now passes the bill. The question for the House shall the bill pass through the seen. Sir, now it's roll call hall. Roll call is now in progress.
Okay, so now they're voting. This is what happens at the very end. They all vote.
Aye.
Red is not, they're not voting for it. All the people that spoke against it, Crosswhite-Hater, Grego, they voted against it. Let's see what, Dempsey voted yes, even though
Change your vote. Cheers, to close.
he was against it, or against the
Townley, aye.
certified mail.
He probably changed his mind after he heard that it was the OTA's amendment. He was like, oh, never mind, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what else is interesting to me is when someone doesn't pay their Pike Pass bill or plate pay, they're notified via certified mail.
Correct.
So I wonder what Dempsey and Grego, I wonder how they feel about that.
Yeah, I know we all don't have a lot of time to watch all of these things, and I didn't even watch it because I was in a meeting all day when they were talking about this. But man, you have to have a representative that just can keep it moving forward and keep it on track, and you have to have leadership that's willing to do that. So we still have work to do on that bill, but I wanted to quickly jump to SB 80 just to show you what happens when the agency and the state wants something to happen. It will happen. So remember Senate Bill 80, Standridge, Bergstrom, Jett, Sacchieri, Stairs, and Mentz. It's Oklahoma Turnpike Transparency and Accountability Reform. It's pretty good. It does the same thing that we just talked about, the 1939. It's coming from the other way, a few different things. It limits the OTA's authorities, so new turnpike routes require explicit legislative authorization, and they're sunsetting all of the new route authorizations after 5 years, just like 1939. It requires real public notice, newspaper notice, website posting, good faith notice, mandatory public meetings, full disclosures, conceptual maps, project details, and reports sent to the governor, legislature, and local officials, all OTA meetings and records open to the public. And it also has an extra thing in there, conflict of interest enforcement. The OTA officials are barred from self-dealing. Violations are a felony, so it has a little bit of teeth in it. The only thing it doesn't have that the House Bill 1939 had in was the requirement that the OTA go to the Supreme Court for bond validation. However, an amendment was put on the floor by Senator Blair of Bixby, and he put a new bridge crossing the Arkansas River in the vicinity of the city of Bixby in there as a location authorization. And this is the same as Representative Tedford's House Bill 2123. I want to tell you my opinion on this, that existentially, I do not believe that the legislature should give the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority any more power than it already has. They have to put some guardrails up for the citizens before they allow the Turnpike Authority to build a new bridge, because the OTA already said sunset these 17 bills or 17 locations. We're not going to build there. And now they're adding in one more. This bridge was in the original statutes, but it had a very, very specific location. And it said that once it's paid for, it would become free to the public. So these two legislators took out the free to the public after it's paid off with tolls and just said in perpetuity, we're going to build this new bridge and it's going to be tolled forever, crossing the Arkansas River in the vicinity of the city of Bixby. Now, I'm not going to make transportation decisions for a community I don't live in. However, did the senator and the representative go to their community and ask the community if they wanted it? And if they want it, where do they want it? And how do they want to fund it? And all these things, because I feel like as it was originally in the statute, it gave the people an out after 30 years to become a free road over the Arkansas River. And now they're locking their citizens in until forever, until we abolish the OTA, hopefully someday. But so this amendment got put into our bill. And I just want everybody to know that this was not, we didn't want this in. It got voted in the same way you just heard the amendments get read, and they don't really get read. They just say, oh, we're adding this. And then everybody who doesn't read it just votes yes, or, some people that voted no. But so we need to let the people of Bixby know that this is in there and that they took their option of having a free road after it's been paid off out. So that is what I have to say about SB 80. So we have 3 bills alive. There's a whole bunch of nonsense that goes on in the legislature. It takes a lot of time. It's very disruptive work. Someone has to follow it all the time. We have people up there every single day. However, it's super difficult to follow these amendments when they come up, especially under 24 hours and if people are out or whatever. So this is why people have paid lobbyists. And this is why we really need, to continue to raise money and continue to fight not only the legal battles, but the legislative battles with someone that can really help us. We're super, I don't want to say more effectively, because we are super effective for having full-time jobs and doing other things other than this, but it's super disruptive to have to be you never know when these bills are coming up, and you have to be available at the minute that they have a question by text. And if you're not, then you lose that opportunity. So it's an interesting process for sure. But keep the faith and keep contacting your legislators and tell the Senate you want to hear House Bill 1939 and House Bill 3453, and tell the House you want to hear Senate SB 80, because these are good bills in general, and we still have to do a little cleanup on some of them, but we're hoping to get at least one of these through to the finish line.
Yeah.
Oh, so we have let's answer this question. So just an honest assessment with these bills, is there any real chance at this point, also given the City of Norman actions last week, to delay or stop the north-south extension in Norman? So you're talking specifically about the southern extension, not the east-west connector. And to that, I tell you, with these bills, the bills themselves will not stop the southern extension. What will stop it is legal action. And there are people getting letters right now on the South Extension, actually not in Norman that I've heard of, but down in Lexington and Slaughterville and Noble along Highway 77. We just got our first letter sent to us yesterday, and it's going to take people on the South Extension to come together, that new South Extension, and come together and file legal action that requires the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to prove necessity. And so I still have faith that the Southern Extension, if people act and people really want to put up a fight, I still have faith that that particular one can be stopped. On the East-West Connector, I think it can be delayed, but at this point, there's so many homes that have been taken, and there's some environmental concerns that we're working through, but I don't know about the East-West Connector, but I still, the Southern Extension people are starting to get letters, and they need to contact us with those letters so we can put together a good team. Nothing's done until it's done, right? So we got to keep going. And of course, as I was talking to my husband this weekend about some of the things going on behind the doors that we can't really talk about in a public forum yet, but everything takes money. So it's like the chicken before the egg. People want to see what we're doing, but we can't do what we want to do until we have the money. So it's kind of like we're trying to utilize all of our volunteers and expertise in the best way that we can to do the best we can for the community. And we've been getting a lot of help. But of course, as one of the lawyers told me last week, if you had $3 million, you could play in this arena and do a lot of things, but we don't have $3 million. So that's what we're trying to be very strategic in our targets to go after. I hope that answered your question. But we got lots going on in the legislature, Kelly, and I think people are probably pretty upset about the city council meeting. So
yes, they are. Here in just a minute, we're going to bring Tassie in also to talk about the city council meeting. And I think this is actually a really good segue. So you were talking about necessity and to challenge the take. And I think that it's a good time to bring up the fact that the city of Norman signing that agreement with the Turnpike Authority, there's some language in there. Let's see if I can pull this up. I'm going to try this.
Yep, you got it up there.
Can you hear me, Amy?
Yeah, I can hear you, and it's up there. There's a staff report.
Okay. Hey, Tassie, how are you?
Hi, Tassie.
Hi, I can hear Amy, but I can't hear Kelly.
Can you still not hear me?
Oh, you can't hear her? I can hear you.
Okay. So let me put my AirPods away and see if that helps at all. And maybe I'll turn up my volume on my little microphone thing.
Try again, Kelly.
Okay, still nothing?
No,
That's
I hear little squeaky
so
sounds like a little
strange.
mouse.
That is so bizarre. Not really sure, but Amy, you can hear me okay.
I can hear you okay.
Okay. That's bizarre.
So I'm trying not to, I'm like trying to lip read so I don't talk over you.
You're good.
This is a weird situation. So I'm going to give my little short take on the city council, and then I should probably bail just because it's too weird when I can't hear you. So for those of you who weren't there, that city council meeting went on for many hours, and a big thank you to everybody who showed up and spoke. I know we make an impact, but unfortunately in this particular case, like, we have always taken the position that the city should not cooperate with OTA at any level, that they will take whatever little tiny bit of daylight the city gives them and create this giant wedge to just come in and maraud, right? Like, those of us who have been here from day one know that marauding has always been their MO. They will grab land, they will create destruction, they will not be held accountable, and then they will just vanish and leave a mess and make everybody sue them to be made whole. So we were of the opinion that like any cooperation is bad, but unfortunately our message did not seem to resonate. And I think the best explanation I can give you is that I personally feel like the OTA has a direct channel to the city council via the city staff. So we have new council members who have not experienced this before, and it's always hard to think about this, but imagine that you had no background knowledge of the situation or you hadn't been tuned in, and you come to the city council and you're very capable professional engineering, city staff, like give you this very factual presentation of like, if we do this, the city gains, but if we don't do this, the city loses. That's a message that you can internalize and grasp really easily. And when people from Pike show up and like, you cannot trust this agency, they just maraud and create mayhem, like that message doesn't resonate as well because it just sounds crazy, right? Like if you did not know the full history of OTA, you would think that we were from Crazy Town. But honestly, we have all this background and we know that we're not crazy. We know that we're just good researchers and that they just have been able to act in this way that is incomprehensible to anybody who hasn't been paying attention. So that's kind of my interpretation of how this went down. Like we stood up and we made our case and we were, as always, thoughtful and factual and well-informed. But that message that they got from the city staff was the one that resonated. And when I did my little spiel, I said, the city staff have given you a clear quantification of the benefits of collaborating with OTA, but they have not accurately measured or conveyed the cost. And so I was all about, until we have an accurate cost accounting, you can't make this decision, you should postpone. They didn't like that. They were really, in my opinion, it was very much like a con artist does, or like imagine an aggressive telemarketer, like, I have a timeshare deal for you right now. If you sign today, you get a free Rolex watch that is definitely not fake, right? And so to me, that was kind of the gist of the way that they were doing the math. They were just caving into the pressure and not making the best decision. And unfortunately, they did sign this. I don't quite know what the full impact will be, right? Like we have, at least according to the city attorney, like, we can get out of it. If they go marauding, we have options. I've seen enough of OTA's history that I don't quite buy it, but maybe it's not as bad as I think. So that's kind of my big picture.
So let's try this one more time. Tassie, can you still not hear me at all?
You can't hear Tassie?
No, I can hear you, Amy, which is weird.
Okay.
That is so
Amy,
crazy.
do you want to translate?
Yeah. Everybody out in the internet land says they can hear all three of us. So
okay, it's just me.
Yeah,
that's so crazy.
Let me log off and log back on. That might help.
Yeah, let's try that. Let's try that for sure, because I definitely want you to go with me on this. So Tassie brought up, what are the, even if the city does decide to amend this in the future, I want you guys to take a look at this slide right here. Wait, hold on. So it says the city, I can't see it even on my screen now. Hold on, let me change this to a bigger. So right here, number 6. To forward the funding associated with the city's existing responsibility for the 36th Avenue project, inclusive of all costs, including construction, to the authority within 45 days of execution of this agreement in a single lump sum of $2,200,000. So the city is going to have to pay the authority $2.2 million within 45 days of execution of this contract, which will happen I'm assuming the authority board members will sign this on April the 7th at their next board meeting. So basically what that means is the city is putting up $2 million. So then if we decide we're going to amend the contract, we've already lost our $2 million. And I have a real problem with that because they also say that the $2 million is going to go for right-of-way and utility relocation. But
I wish I had this on me here so I could show you guys, but we do have documents from the city saying that they have actually already secured all the right-of-way. They purchased all the right-of-way back in 2021, I believe it was. Here's I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I'll try to throw up this stuff somewhere. Maybe I'll put it in Amy's Substack or something, or on the website. But this was from some of the council members went to Washington, D.C. to try to secure some funds, some grant money for this. Okay, we're bringing Tassie back in. Maybe she can hear me now. I don't know. Maybe not.
Can you hear Kelly? You can? Oh, perfect.
I hear you on
Good.
YouTube, so I've got both windows open, but that'll work.
Sweet. Okay. So a few of the city council members went to Washington, D.C. to try to secure grant funding to complete this 36th Avenue project. And this sheet that they put together for the council members to take says the project design is on hold at 90% completion, awaiting funding. All utility relocations and right-of-way acquisitions are complete. Now, this was in 2024. So if all of the right-of-way acquisitions are complete, then why is the city on the hook for $2 million for a right-of-way acquisition? That just doesn't make any sense. And if you look a little bit further at this slide, you can see that in the end, the OTA is going to pay this total cost of $31 million or whatever, and the city is responsible for $4.8 million. Well, why does the city have to put up any money if the OTA is going to end up paying us back? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, I'll tell you why. The reason, in my opinion, is because if the city pays that $2 million up front, then they're hooked. And also, on that note, it shows here, I'm going to try to make this a little bigger so I can read it better, but you'll see that they, by signing this, to complete the construction of the East-West Connector project. Well, I might need to go back actually up here. It specifies that this will now be considered part of the project. So when Amy was talking about the necessity and challenging the necessity of the take. So moving forward, if any of these landowners that are supposedly going to be impacted by this new right-of-way acquisition, they're not going to be able to challenge the necessity of excess land that they might otherwise be able to challenge because it has now become part of the Turnpike project. Therefore, the Turnpike Authority has the ability to condemn it if they want to, because it will technically be used for the Turnpike project. And so that's just one of the sneaky things that I feel like they put in. There's some other stuff that in here that was kind of interesting, like the city recognizes construction of access points along the East-West Connector to include 60th Avenue Northwest, 36th Avenue, I-35, 12th Avenue, all of these other areas to include 156th and Peebly Road, which is not even in Norman city limits. So why is that included in the city of Norman's contract? That just, it doesn't seem appropriate. And when someone asked about that, the city attorney said, you know, it's just part of the whereases. It's not enforceable, so it doesn't really matter. Well, if it doesn't really matter, then take it out. Because it does matter. It does matter in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know, Tassie, I think you probably have a better way to explain that than what I can come up with off the top of my head, but the devils are in the detail.
You know, honestly, all of it feels like sloppy and rushed, and that nobody is doing anything.
No. And it's concerning to me that our city council would be open to signing an agreement knowing that there's information in there that doesn't even apply to them. Like, what? I don't know. It's just absolutely crazy to me. So let me look at my notes here and see if there was anything else.
I wanted to point out that over history, the OTA has always tried to sign some resolution of partnership with the cities or the councils, and they need that And they do it as a show of goodwill. I'm going to pay for this if you do this, and I'm going to do this if you do this, and then they don't do anything they say they're going to do, and they screw every single landowner that lives anywhere near the turnpike. In fact, there's so many lawsuits right now in litigation because of flooding issues around the turnpikes that they haven't come to terms with, and all this stuff. So the city of Norman made a humongous mistake by partnering with the OTA right now, because if this thing gets built and that area floods, who is going to be on the hook for that? Not the OTA. The OTA is going to have their $900 an hour lawyers stringing the city along in court to not pay all those damages. And I wanted to point out, I put some substacks in the comments, that this is in statute. So in the statutes, in Title 69, Section 1716B, it says that all municipalities are hereby authorized and empowered to lease, lend, grant, or convey to the authority at its request such terms and conditions as the municipalities may deem reasonable and fair, and any real property which may be necessary or convenient to the effectuation of the authorized purpose of the authority, including public roads and other real property already devoted to public use. So if the OTA does not have a cooperation resolution with the city, they cannot come in. That is why the OTA went to the
County commissioners.
The county commissioners to get one. But the OTA can't touch Indian Hills because it's owned by the city. So there are all these little things that the OTA is trying to entice the city to get in bed with them. I'm going to pay for this. I'm going to pay for this. Well, what if the cost is higher? What if there's unintended consequences of flooding? What if there's they need more property, or there's more damages, or they can't complete what they said they're complete? Kelly can tell you and show you resolution after resolution after resolution and contract after contract after contract where the OTA did nothing they said they were going to do. And they stuck it all on the municipality or the city that was just left holding the bag. And the property taxes kept going up and up and up and up. So if you think your property taxes have gone up and up and up the last couple of years, like every year we get, if you're homesteader, 3%. If you don't have homestead, you have a 5% increase. Well, even more to pay for, what was it, Kelly? $250 million worth of unfunded maintenance liabilities on the service roads along the east-west connector. So everything the OTA does is part of their corrupt business plan. And no one has called them out on it except for Pike Off OTA.
Yep.
And
so
he's listen to us, not them.
That's exactly right. And so the reason they're not going to have to pay for the water runoff and those kinds of things is because it's not included right here in the agreement. So they basically, by not including things, they excluded the OTA from having to pay for damages that occur in the future. I'm not an attorney, that's just my opinion, but that's kind of what I saw with the Oklahoma County situation back in the Driving Forward program, that would have been in 2016, 2017. It wasn't included. And so, then they come back and they try to negotiate that, and well, now they have leverage on you.
Yeah, and Mike says it very well. OTA couldn't figure out how to control the water runoff and detention from their turnpikes, which is why I think they negotiated to dump into the city of Norman infrastructure, and now it's the city's problem. Exactly. And the city, I can't even believe the city staff signed those contracts. Like, we had so many people looking at these contracts before, and everything on that text string was like, I have no idea what they're doing. I can't understand their contract. Why are they missing this? Why are they missing that? And then they go and vote on it. It's nuts.
Well, and they voted on this where in the whereases it said stuff that doesn't pertain to the city. We talked about that a few minutes ago. And so one of my comments to council was actually, why don't you add into these agreements the necessity for the OTA to engage your citizens? Why can you not add that in as one of the requirements? Why can't that be a numbered line item that says the OTA will conduct public meetings, will listen to public feedback, respond to public feedback, and incorporate public feedback in the negotiations they then hold with staff?
and then things will move forward. But hopefully we'll see something like that. I'd also like to see the city have a citizens committee that, or random, or average citizens could come and, be part of that discussion, because as we're seeing, the city staff are not always on the up and up. They are not always as knowledgeable about things as they should be. They don't know what to watch for. Clearly, our group has been in this for 4.5 years now, or a little over 4 years. We know a lot. It just is baffling to me why they don't take advantage of us as a resource when we do have all this information, and we can potentially save them from making mistakes that they don't even realize are mistakes in the moment. So anyway, it's an example of that actually would be that our mayor and several of the council members do not understand how the notice of intent to sue works. They got up there, several of them, and said, you guys have been saying that you're going to sue and this is going to stop the OTA and yada, 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 but it's been 2 months now and we still haven't seen that lawsuit filed. So, well, let's just explain to you how the notice of intent actually works. For anybody else listening who doesn't understand, the notice of intent is a 60-day wait period. It's an opportunity for whoever files the notice of intent. They are notifying those agencies that they have identified these issues that they would like to see resolved, or would like to hear from these agencies and find out what they're doing to mitigate or plan for these situations. And that 60-day notice is designed specifically to save the taxpayers from having to pay unnecessary litigation costs for those government agencies. So the agency, you would think, would respond to this notice of intent to sue and say, oh, we're really sorry. We've actually been doing X, Y, and Z that will address your concern A, and over here we're doing this to address your concern B. We didn't realize this was an issue. We will get to work on item C. But as far as I know, Pykoff has not heard from any of the agencies on that notice of intent to sue. But back to how that process works is they have 60 days to read through those things, come up with a response, and then if the citizens or whoever filed the lawsuit to be or sent the notice of intent to sue, if they haven't heard from them, then after that 60 days, then they can file a lawsuit after they've given them an opportunity to talk with them. And so what I explained to council that night was the 60 days was up the day before that council meeting. So the earliest that a lawsuit could have been filed was the day before. And you should have seen their faces. Like, they did not know that. But it's crazy to me that they didn't, because a few of us actually met with some of the city staff the Friday before and explained that very process to them, because they told us then that they didn't understand it. And yet still, even over the weekend, they didn't feel the need to explain to the mayor or any of the council members how that process worked. They were happy to let them go into that meeting thinking that, well, Pykoff is just blowing hot air and they're not actually going to file this thing because it's been 60 days and they still haven't done it. Well, no, we had to wait until after 60 days. So anyhow, that was a little bit frustrating for me.
Yeah, I was ticked off about that no one actually called. And you guys met with them too, and to tell them that. And again, it's this whole city staff, the city staff not explaining to the council people. And then 2 days later, they had some commissioner, the transportation commission meeting or something. And then some of the council people were like, wait, I didn't think that was going to happen. And wait, well, we voted thinking this was going to happen. And so it was like they were super confused, but they had already voted in all the contracts 2 days before. And what is the rush? That's exactly how the OTA came at the city in the fall of 2024, if you remember. They said, you need to sign this right now. And Daryl Pyle was like, you have to sign this right now. And then they voted it down. And then 2 months later, we had to come back again and do the same thing again, like deja vu. Rule of 3, we brought this back up. You need to vote on this right now. We're like, well, what's the rush? They don't even have 60% design done. So it's just the game plan that happens. And
yeah, and I think we all, at a certain level, suspect that it's real estate developers that are driving this train, and that it's OTA, real estate developers, are this tsunami of pressure putting on the city staff to just ram this through in this totally shambolic, irresponsible, unprofessional way, because there's, to me, no other explanation makes sense, right? Like we've seen this movie before. We know how things are supposed to work, and OTA is way over here in crazy town, and suddenly all this gravity just brings all of our elected officials over to their priorities, and nobody's representing the citizens or the people in this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, I think it's also interesting if you look at, they said that the reason they were moving forward with signing this agreement was because they had been told by the Turnpike Authority that if they do this agreement and they work with the OTA can incorporate this drainage box within the city's current footprint that they have already secured the right-of-way for, which is ironic because then apparently we still have to secure right-of-way, but they're saying if we agree to partner with them right now on the project that they won't have to take any more right-of-way. And that was the crux of it, was that City Council thought they were saving one home. That if they had to do the OTA's project, then it would take an additional house. Whereas if they just went and did this agreement, then the city would use their plans and they wouldn't have to take a house. And so I asked them, did anybody contact this landowner to see what they wanted? Crickets. Nothing. No, of course they didn't. But, everybody has a different situation. I've talked with lots of landowners. Some landowners don't want to be left next to the turnpike. Some, they will stay in their house no matter what. If it's 3 feet from their front door, they're staying there. But some people just want to go. They don't want to be that close to a highway. And I can see this landowner. I don't know which one it is, but I'm assuming it's the one at the corner of that intersection at 36th and I guess that would be 36th and Indian Hills. And do they really want to be right on the corner of those frontage roads and this huge turnpike? And now there's going to be this 5-stack interchange. Like, that is drastically changing the conditions and the character of their land right now. And if this had been any other type of development coming through, the OTA would have, if they were just a regular developer, they would have to have come in and gone through an application process with the city to get it rezoned. And in those rezoning application processes, those applicants have to notify all the landowners within a certain radius of the project, and those landowners get an opportunity to file a formal protest, and then the applicant actually has to address every single one of those protests and explain how they're going to mitigate for that or how they're not. And in this case, the OTA comes in, gets to throw in a 5-stack next to these people and frontage roads and a turnpike. And this landowner was not even contacted by the city to ask them if they would rather just be bought out by the OTA. Nobody asked them. So they took that away from this landowner. And I don't think it probably never even occurred to them because they were hooked by the OTA coming in and saying, you guys get to save a whole house. And then I also thought this was interesting. Not only did they save this one house, which I think that is great. Okay, that's great. But we also had a council member point out that the OTA apparently would have also had to take some raw land from another landowner that is apparently has a housing development platted for it already. And so that would have then taken like 13 more homes that are not even homes yet. They're potential homes. But this council person was super excited that they were saving potential homes. So I think this is great in some ways because the city council has now set a precedent. They will not allow any agreement with the OTA moving forward to take even one home or even potential homes that haven't even been built yet. So I think that's something we're going to have to hold their feet to the fire on moving forward. If they come in, they want to do an agreement with the OTA for multimodal paths or man-made wetlands, I think we have to stick with the OTA or with the city council and let them know, nope, you guys turned down the proposition of taking one house to partner with the OTA in the past. So if you're going to fight that hard for that one landowner, you're going to need to do the same thing for everybody else following that. So anyhow.
Yeah, and to Kelly and Tassie's point about the real estate development and all development, I put up a screenshot of the plot that Kelly made that shows all the development all along that 36th Avenue and Tecumseh or Indian Hills Way. And so 36, the widening of 36th Northwest goes all the way up to Indian Hills, right? Yeah. And so if you look at that, the 36 is here. Where's 36? This one? Right next to I-35?
Mm-hmm.
So I-35, you got a huge plot of land. That's Apex Properties. They own almost...
That is the property that was going to have the 13 potential homes, I believe.
And then you got another developer right up here, number 10. Who is that? Oh, I don't know who that is. But you got another property up here. And then all these red pieces were what was taken by ODOT. And then 8, you got another developer on this intersection. So all along that 36 Northwest intersection, you have, and in Indian Hills intersection, you have a bunch of developers, except for the southwest corner. So I don't know. It just feels like a bunch of OTA propaganda got to the city staff and they convinced the council, and no one listened to us. So I don't know really how to stop that. It's like they're not elected, right? So it's hard to make headway.
And I think every time a new city council person comes on, which is frequent, like unfortunately, we're gonna have the same process repeat itself. Like they're gonna doubt what sounds like, fringe characters, not understanding, who is actually giving them facts and who is giving them prepackaged talking points from OTA.
Yeah, because they're going to turn over, and then we're going to have to establish trust with the new council members. And unfortunately, they're going to have to learn things the hard way, just like the current council is. And I think that's part of the plan of the OTA. They know that they can come in and do these things. And then when that council member moves on, then a new council member is going to be left to try to look back and see what the actual agreement was 5 years prior to them coming on the council, and then try to hold the OTA to it. So, because that's kind of what happened with Oklahoma County. It was like there was some changeover, and then there was also like 8 or 9 years in between when they signed the agreement and when we brought it to their attention that, oh, hey, by the way, they didn't actually follow through on these things. And they'd done a lot of things since then, and they'd kind of forgotten how it was supposed to go. And so they were under the impression that they were supposed to, buy this property back. That was a whole different story. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about that. But I feel like they kind of count on the fact that these council members are just going to turn over. And so chances are they won't actually have to follow through on some of the things that they said they were going to do, because there won't be anybody around who remembers that they were supposed to do it. And then you've also got the situation where the current council is like, screw it, I don't care, I'm signing the agreement, because by the time it all comes down, if these people are right and we were wrong, I'm not going to be on council anymore to hear about it. So it won't matter. It'll be somebody else's problem. And then the same thing happens with the new council when it does come down the pipe and they do realize, oh, hey, council before got it wrong. They're like, hey, I wasn't here then, so don't yell at me. It's just the whole finger pointing. It's your problem. It's your fault, and all of that. So something else before I forget to mention this, another concern I have is the city had to upfront the $2 million, not only for the 36th Avenue widening project, but they also signed another agreement to plug some wells that the city owns. And they also have to put up $2 million for that, even though the OTA is going to turn right around and pay the city $9 million or something. Like, there's got to be a reason for that. Why are we putting money in when you, during that same time period, are going to pay us even more? In what world does that happen that way? No, you just take it out. You say, okay, we have $9 million. Your share is 2. Our share is 9. We're going to just give you 7. Like, that's how that should work, right? But it doesn't. And there's probably a reason for that. I'm not an attorney, so I can't tell you the reason why. But my guess is what I see happening here is because another part of this contract, if you look a little bit further, says that these wells have to be plugged by December 31st of 2026. Now, if, say, a lawsuit gets filed and the project is put on hold, that's the whole project. And if you remember back to what I said before, that language in the 36th Avenue contract says that now 36th Avenue is part of the East-West Connector project. So that means 36th Avenue is going to go on hold too, or will if there's a lawsuit for any reason. And so if the city is put on hold and can't go and plug these wells or fulfill their part of the contract by December 31st, 2026, what happens? What's the consequence for that? And I ask because we've seen with the contractor who is constructing the Canadian River Bridge, I believe the contract states that every hour they go over the deadline is like a $10,000 fine per hour. So this contract doesn't lay it out, but I'm pretty sure during the council meeting, one of the council members asked one of the city's legal people about some specific something or other, and she alluded to there's actually another contract maybe that has the fine print in it that we don't see, and so I have a lot of questions about that. Did you guys catch that?
Did
anybody else catch that?
It seemed like there was other things going on that the citizens were not aware of, which is why I have a serious problem with them rushing through it. Like, honest to God, why March 24th? Why did they have to make a decision on March 24th? Why couldn't they have made it after they get all of these things completely worked out, after that transportation committee thing that they did 2 days later, where they got a chance to ask more questions and figure out that they really didn't know what the heck they had signed two nights ago? Like, it just, again, because I don't know what goes on there, it just seemed like it was a forced by fear. And I don't know.
I think it goes, yes, high pressure sales. And I think it goes back to taking that initial.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. Send us your questions and comments and insights, and I'll let you guys wind it up. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
Sassy. So I think the reason they are getting the city involved and pushing them to do this is because the OTA understands how that notice of intent works. They know that the 60 days is up now and that somebody could file a lawsuit at any point in time. And so if they've got the city roped into this, that makes it harder for the lawsuit to move forward. It makes it harder for the judge to grant an injunction, which Rob Norman can explain. And I actually have a clip here if you want to listen to that here in just a second. But it also means, and I think that's also why they put this $2 million in the well agreement and $2 million in the 36th Avenue agreement, because that's $4 million that the city now has to pony up within 45 days and pay to the OTA. And they're going to hold that hostage because it will be in limbo. That's $4 million of our tax dollars could potentially be in limbo if a lawsuit moves forward and a judge does grant an injunction. And they've got it. They can keep it. They can hold on to it. So I think they do. I think they did that on purpose. I think they knew that they were going to take the city's money up front and leave us high and dry. Do you want to listen to what Rob had to say?
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull this off and see if I can get this to go. Where do I push play at?
Thank you.
There you go.
Rob Norman.
Rob Norman, Ward 3. Yes, I get it that this first item, and maybe these should have been flipped. I think we're seeing by the tenor of public comment where we would be talking more about general policy matters than wonk. This one's a wonk. I mean, at least the work is wonk. That's what it is. It's wonk. It's work that would be done, that would need to be done. Some of it sounds like it would need to be done really if we didn't even have any turnpikes. However, this is what I'm going to focus on with this, and it's going to apply to both things. Exhibit 1 for me on both of these is this. This is Pikeoff's notice of intent to sue the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority and the whole plenary group of federal agencies. 60-day notice that expired yesterday. We have to get a few things put together for due diligence, checking the box, since the OTA and the agencies didn't do what we had asked them to do in the way of environmental studies, in the way of due diligence for crossing the Canadian River with that bridge, and moving on down the road with the east-west connector. Now, what both of these contracts do is they undermine the plaintiff's interest in that action. Just like back when we were talking about the resolution, the real reason the OTA wants these right now, the timing is not an accident. I assume there's no one from the OTA here as usual. But the real reason they want them when they want them right now is this right here. The construction schedule does not demand that a contract be entered into tonight. But what they can do is they can walk into a courtroom in the balancing of equities in front of a federal district judge and say, look at the city. The city entered into these contracts, and the city is really kind of endorsing this and deciding it needs to go forward. And by the way, we have so much done on this project already, and we have so much contract work done already, Your Honor. They shouldn't be entitled to an injunction on this project. And make no mistake that this federal action will be about both declaratory and injunctive relief. It is a stop project lawsuit. Now, a few months ago, in a little condemnation case involving a little substation out in East Norman, y'all gave the landowners in that the benefit of the doubt and let that case shake out before you gave Western Electric the go-ahead from the city perspective to move forward with that substation. In one way, at least on this item and on the other item too, and I'll get more into the substance of the next item, we're kind of asking for the same thing. I don't think it's a lot to ask for us to get 60 or 90 days or until that lawsuit shakes out, and y'all can communicate with us. If y'all are communicating with the OTA, surely you can communicate with your citizens. Surely you can communicate with the organization that has worked so hard to stop these turnpikes and reform the OTA. The resolution that y'all turned down a year ago, my exhibit A there was, don't give them something that they can go wave in front of the legislature and say, Norman is in favor of this. Don't give them something tonight that they can go wave in front of the courts and say, Norman is in favor of this. Now, a lot of people are going to talk about, the wonk and other things, but for my purposes, that's what I'm going to leave it at on this first item. Thanks.
Go, Rob. Oh, now you're muted again.
Oh, here we go. Okay. I had my microphone on mute so you couldn't hear me typing in the background. I was preparing another slide that I think is interesting.
Yeah, so I don't understand how much more clear you could be. We explained that to the mayor on January 30th at our chili cook-off. We explained it several times via email by lots of people. We explained it there, and then they still vote for it. And we were going to keep plugging along, but it's just super frustrating to not be listened to and to have people it's just like, well, Kelly, it's just like our podcast the other week when we showed that Bobby Stem had access to the Attorney General.
Mm-hmm.
The people don't have access to the Attorney General, even though he's the one who called the investigative audit for us. The OTA has access to the city staff. We don't have access to the city staff. I mean, we have to beg, borrow, and plead to get access to them. It's like, it doesn't feel like we live in a government that really cares what the people say, and we have to keep screaming, and we have to have so many more people, have exponentially more contacts. One person from the OTA can run in, or one person from a lobbyist group can run in, and it has to be 100 or 200 of us saying the same thing to get anything done. And it's super frustrating. I really hope that this comes back to bite the city, because the citizens are right again. We're right again. And I hope that, we can prevail with what we have planned, and that, well, I know it's going to hurt everybody. I don't know. It's going to hurt everybody, because if they get stuck with the bill, then who's going to pay? We are, our property taxes, everybody.
Yep.
It's
That's
just
exactly right.
it's terrible.
Yep, that's exactly right. So I have, let's look at this real fast. So this is something I think everybody needs to be aware of, just so you can kind of see where the city staff is coming from. And this might kind of explain a little bit more about why they're not sharing information with the city council and the mayor in maybe what I would consider to be an honest manner, and why we sort of feel like maybe they're kind of already captured by the developers. So apparently some city staff attended a presentation put on by the state chamber. And this would have been back in, I think, 2023, 2024, somewhere around there. And I went ahead and redacted the names of these staff members because just for, to protect their identities. So there was an email that we got through open records request, and it says, so-and-so, I dare you to bring it up now, but it seems that an ideal location to zone a large industrial tract would be at the southwest or southeast intersection of the Kickapoo Turnpike South Extension and the East-West Turnpike, roughly 72nd Avenue and Indian Hills Road. All sorts of warehousing and industrial operations will be attracted to those new interstate routes.
Yeah.
And the response to this email was, yeah, we 100% agree. They were super excited about that. So that is what they have planned. They do not have the intention of preserving that natural beauty that is out there right now. They do not care about the citizens and protecting their property or anything like that. This is their goal. Their goal is they would love to see an industrial location for warehousing and industrial operations at that interchange.
Yeah, didn't one of the working AIM committee maps show an industrial track out there?
It probably did. It probably
did.
did. If you find it, pull it up.
I do. I have it. Yeah. So I'll share my
Okay.
screen. Yeah. So I don't know if that'll be bigger or what.
Here, let's do it this way.
Oh, yeah. And these are all the redacted right here. Here we go. So you've got these areas are in development reserve, but generally easier to service than others. So all this and all of this in red could expand on Turnpike Commercial, potentially eliminate expansion into this lateral basin, could expand within the Dave Blue Creek, consider eliminating or expanding. So all of this red is industrial that they want up here in all these tributaries to Lake Thunderbird. It's just kind of gross. And I'll put this in the Substack too. So the RDG, that's the company in Garver, and city staff feels like the proposed east-west connector turnpike should be commercially developed through our watershed. Red is regional commercial and job centers, and feels like there should be a perfectly linear development stop right around 80th Avenue. And then again, what was 80th Avenue? That was the proposed turnpike, right? So again, they've been talking with the city staff. We know that they've been talking with the city staff since 2021. So I'll put this in the chat so you can see it. It's just gross, to be honest.
It is. It's completely gross. I do want to share one other thing. This is wait a second. Let me remove this. And oh, well, maybe it won't go. Oh, here it goes. Okay. Let's make it a little bigger. So what we're looking at here is the, hold on, let me pull it up over here on my side so I can see a little bit bigger. So another issue that I had with the 36th Avenue agreement with the OTA was that 36th Avenue project was actually part of a bond package that the voters had approved previously. And so what you're looking at here on our screen is a list of those bond projects. And so you can see there were quite a few. I can't remember what year this the spreadsheet was put together, probably 2024, 2023, somewhere around there. And you can see where the projects were in their completion or whatnot. And it was mentioned at the city council meeting that night that all of these improvements that were supposed to be done with this bond package have been completed, with the exception of 36th Avenue. And 36th Avenue was number 2 on the priority list. And so it makes you wonder, like, why, if that was number 2, why did it get pushed back so far? Why did they focus on all of these other projects without, doing that, without using that one? Although I'm actually seeing right here, and it says Indian Hills Road and I-35 interchange. I'm not sure why that was included, and if they said that all of the projects have been completed, because that one clearly hasn't been completed. But the other part that's interesting to me is that they also mentioned that this 36th Avenue and this Indian Hills interchange were the only 2 projects in the bond package that intersect with any of the turnpike routes. So maybe I'm a little bit conspiracy theorist here, but it does make one wonder, when we had a developer stand up at the last city council meeting that we spoke out against the Turnpike Authority, or the city signing an agreement resolution with the Turnpike Authority, actually stood up during public comment and said something about, we thought we had this worked out to be a 5-lane boulevard, referring to Indian Hills. And then out of nowhere, there was this announcement of a turnpike. So prior to December of 2021, because we know the OTA definitely knew it was going to be a turnpike at that point. So prior to 2021, this developer, and who knows who else, thought this was going to be a 5-lane boulevard that ODOT was going to take care of. So was this the plan all along, to push this project off, hoping that ODOT or OTA would take it in the long term? I think chances are pretty good that that might be the case, especially considering it was number 2 on the priority list. So one other thing that I think is interesting here that I'd like to point out is, remember, the city has supposedly has already purchased all of the right-of-way. And then if on this chart, you can see here that the remaining balance for 36th Avenue project was around $2 million or something. Let's see if I can find it. It's harder for me to read because it's so tiny. Yeah, $2 million, I think is what it says right there. $2.4 million. Well, the city's on the hook for $4 million somehow. And so they're saying that the reason they want to partner with the OTA is because they just can't come up with that last couple, however many $1 million it's going to be to complete this project on their own. So even though they just got a grant from the federal government, so I don't understand that. But according to this chart, they were only short $2.5 million. And then right off the bat, we're paying the OTA $2.2 million. But so we can come up with the money, the $2 million to give to the OTA, but we can't come up with the 2.4 to just finish the project. I don't know. That Amy, make it make sense.
I can't, because I'm not evil, like my husband told me this weekend. You're not evil enough. I don't know. I can't think that way.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Well, we are coming up on almost noon. I've got to go do some mom things, including picking up children and from different places. But I think, did you have any final thoughts? I had one, but it's escaped me. So I'm going to read my notes while you do yours.
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to make sure everybody is following our Substack and our website and socials, just because of the bills. They go so fast and we need people to action very, very quickly. And I didn't get a chance today, but next week we are going to talk about this website. It is oklahoma.statelens.org, and I put it in the chat. And it is a new legislative bill system that you can easily see what bills Pike Off OTA likes and what bills we don't like. And so and you can see like how they're doing in the House and where they are and what's happening and who's voting for them and who's not. And so you can see right here, this House Bill 1939 that we talked about earlier, you can see that it House party line votes, 73% Republicans voted yes, 100% of the Democrats voted yes. You can see who the authors are, who the co-sponsors, and the most important thing for you is you can see who likes it, and Pike Off OTA likes it. And then you can read a very simple explanation of what it is. And so you can search for Pike Off OTA in there, and I'll show you how to do this all next week. And you can search for eminent domain and all this, and it's such a much better system, more user friendly than the state system on the the Senate and the House side, and also better than LEGISCAN. And you can follow these bills and get notifications when it's happening. And so I think it's a really more user friendly graphic way to see what bills are good and what amendments you like. So I want to talk about that more next week. So that's where I wanted to end. But please stay engaged, stay positive. I know we got kind of a bum deal in the city, but it's not over till it's over. So keep with us.
Okay, I have two things. Number one, I'm going to backtrack just slightly. So remember I told you there were 13 projects in that bond package, and we're just now getting to this 36th Avenue. And instead of using this bond money for what we thought the voters voted to use it for, is some of that money, that bond money, now being pledged to the OTA project. And if voters had the opportunity to go back and know that this is what they were going to do to partner with the OTA, would they have supported that bond package? Would they have voted differently? So that's important, because I want you guys to know that the city, I think sometime in the beginning of April, is putting forward a bond issue before the voters for transportation maintenance. So I want you guys to think about that. Like, okay, what are they going to do with this money? Is it eventually going to be pledged to some project with the OTA because these projects eventually intersect with the turnpike? Or, how do we trust them? I personally don't. I don't know how everybody else is going to vote, but that'll probably be a no for me, because I don't know what you're going to do with my money. And you didn't listen to my wishes when it came to transportation, when I voiced my concerns, along with, at least several dozen other people voiced their concerns at this last council meeting. You didn't listen to them when it came to transportation. So I don't trust you. It will be a no for me. Number two that I want to bring up is that we've been notified from a couple of landowners on what they're calling this South Extension, and saying that they're going to start that process. And so I just wanted to encourage all of you, please don't freak out when you get this letter, but it would be in your best interest, in my personal opinion anyways, I think it would be great if you could reach out to us. You can just contact the Pike Off OTA admin. It'll get you to me or Amy or somebody who can talk with you. But we'd like to share some information with you right from the very beginning, because there's some things you want to do and there's some things you don't want to do right from the beginning. And we can also just kind of help explain that process, how that's going to look, to kind of take some of that anxiety out of it. So I would just recommend that you give us a call. I think we have a phone too, so you can call our phone number and get patched through to one of us who can explain that and kind of help give you a little bit of guidance. Again, we're not attorneys, we're volunteers. We don't get paid for any of the stuff we do. None of us get paid for this. It's all just volunteer time, us trying to learn and help each other and learn from your experiences so that we can share that information with other landowners and hopefully help other landowners. So looks like Amy has posted in the comments how to get a hold of us. So definitely do that. If you got a letter, don't freak out, call Pike Off OTA. I mean, that should be a slogan, Amy. Don't freak out, call Pike Off OTA. Before you do anything else, call Pike Off OTA. And we'll help walk you through that and get you started on the right foot. So that's all I have. We good?
Yeah, I mean, I got about 1,000 other things, but it's give everyone a break, and then we'll come back and hit them again next Monday.
Yes. All right. Well, with that, bye-bye, everybody.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Right of Way Report, a podcast by Pike-Off OTA. You can join us here every Monday morning at 10 a.m., where we will bring you updates on legislation, litigation, and landowner information.